Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of Realty Keys to Success. Today, we're going to talk about using RPR, Realtor Property Resource, which is a great service that I found. And sorry, lost sound here. It's a great service that I found. And if I was working out in the field as a real estate agent, then I absolutely, positively would want to embrace this. So I'm going to walk through that tool with you and give you an introduction, basically, to what RPR is and how you can use it. My name is Thomas Hyman. I'm founder and CEO of Realty Partners. You can reach me here at my email address, thomas@realty-partners.com, or follow me on Twitter at Thomas Hyman. And also, if you haven't done so yet, please follow us on Facebook. Okay, like I said, if you're working as an agent out in the field, you need to have every technology weapon at your disposal. And if you're working in Florida, in our area here, the Mid-Florida Regional, or My Florida Regional, as it was called before, or short MFR MLS, has a lot of great resources. You have the Matrix MLS. There are all sorts of little hooks and icons on the top of your MLS field, but it's somewhat limited in terms of really having access to everything from one place. You have to click around and go into other apps and open other windows. So NAR, the National Association of Realtors, actually created an awesome tool, and it's called RPR, Realtor Property Resource. And it's an amazing tool that allows you to really dig into a lot of data about your properties. So if you're working with sellers, you can do very easy market analysis, CMA reports, or if you're doing broker price opinions, or you're working REOs, you can create them very rapidly. If you're working with investors, there's a great tool that will allow you to create pro-formas on the fly. Whether you do it and then email it to the investor, or whether you do it in the office sitting there with the investor and just playing around with the numbers on different properties. And that's just the beginning. So let me go ahead to the page, to the website, and let's take a look at what RPR really has to offer and how it works. And consider this a walkthrough, in essence, for an initial introduction to RPR. And I'll give you some thoughts as we're going through it, and hopefully you'll embrace it. So here is the main web page. It's www.narrpr, so there are two R's here, .com. And you first have to register. So this is something that's available only to realtors, and you want to go ahead and create an account. I already created an account, obviously, and I'm going to log into my account now. Now, this is the initial screen that you see when you log into RPR, Realtor Property Resource. And at the top, you have this, your listing data status, green, so we have access to everything. And if you look at the details, here are some of the things that are available. And in some markets, they may be available soon or not available yet, but we're lucky with MFR that everything is available. So you have your listings, your company listings, your markets listings, for sale searches, report data, and public records, commercial tools, school data, etc., which is really, really critical to have that. So we're lucky to have all the information available. There's also a help desk. There are a lot of training videos. You can click here. It'll take you into the training area, and then you can check this box if you don't want to see this again next time you log on. Now, up here you have access to a myriad of tools. There are a number of data tools that you have access to. For brokers, for agents, for associations, and actually there is about a 2 months wait once you submit your request for certain branding broker tools, but it's well worth it. So if your broker isn't online yet, then you want to talk to your broker about having the entire experience customized. And again, we put that request in a couple of months ago, and it should be done any day now. And what you will see is when you log in, it's going to have your broker's logo here, and then there are some additional links and so forth in the reports. Now, let's go up here to residential, and this is, you know, your typical search interface that you can use to search for properties. And here are recent properties that you may have looked at, and recent reports. And I just played around with it. I'm not out in the field selling myself anymore, so I really just use this tool to determine, you know, how to use it in essence. And so here we can look for all properties that are listed for sales by neighborhoods, market activities, or your listing. And when it comes to the search, we have really a myriad of ways to search. We can search by address, zip code, city, etc. Then we have advanced searches here. So you can search by, you know, owner name, living areas. So you don't have quite as many search criteria that you would have in the Matrix MLS, or that you would have in the, you know, we use the Commissions Inc. IDX solution, for example, where we have access to virtually every search criteria that is in the MLS. So you wouldn't want to necessarily use this tool as your primary search tool for a buyer, okay? And there really is no way to register a buyer and have updates sent and things like that. But you definitely want to use this as a tool to dig into the data when you go on a listing appointment, for example, or when you are zeroing in on some properties for an investor of yours. And so that's what we're going to take a look at. Also, down here, you can download the RPR mobile application, which is available for both Google Play and the App Store for the you know, Apple platform. And so I highly recommend that you do that. And again, I recommend that you spend some time really digging around in this application and just let this be a starting point. So I'm just going to play around in here a little bit just to give you an idea of some of the functionality, how you can find something, both looking at it from a neighborhood perspective, or looking at it from a drilling into a specific property's perspective. And so let's say, for example, I'm interested in properties in this zip code here, Bradenton 34210, and so it's going to bring up a whole ton of properties, and obviously there are going to be a lot of properties in here. But the first thing that you're going to see here when you search by community, by town name, is that you get some interesting data about the community itself, about the neighborhood. You know, what are the averages, changes in median home value, and so forth. And then you can click here on more about this neighborhood to get even more in-depth information about the property. So you can see, for example, the median estimated home value for the zip code for the city of Bradenton, for Manatee County, and for all of Florida. And you can see here the different colors on those lines, and it'll give you the trends. How does this neighborhood or the zip code compare to the rest of the city or the rest of the state? And as you can see, it's pretty much in line. Median sale price versus sales volume, median listing price versus listing volume, population of children by age group, population of adults by age group, and then you have, you know, the schools nearby, and you can click in to get additional information about those schools. And then you have comparisons here to other, you know, comparing it to other neighborhoods that are nearby, and so there really is a wealth of information that is being pulled together. So it's basically a search portal that just aggregates big data from many different sources and presents them in a very easy way for you to deal with. This was the summary tab. Let's go into the housing tab. And so you can see housing facts and so forth. And this is also great stuff to generate a report, where you can click here to get a report about that information. So here we have housing related data, people, and that's just drilling in more detail into what you had on the summary. We got the economy, we got quality of life, and so forth. So there's really an amazing amount of information that is aggregated here with respect to this particular area that happens to just be the zip code here. Okay, so there really is some great information that you can use, especially when, for instance, dealing with buyers that are out of town, out of state. Now let's go ahead and look at the map here. And here you can see that this information right now is specifically for this zip code 34210, which is outlined here on the map. Now you can go ahead and do your own drawings, and you have a tool. You can do a drawing by a box, by a radius, or polygon. So let's say if I want to zero into a specific neighborhood, I might use the polygon. And the first thing I would do is I would, zoom in into an area, let's say, and then I go to the polygon tool, and let's say this particular area, I start by clicking somewhere, and I click here, and then I click on to the next one, and let's just say that this is a neighborhood that I wanted to drill into. I can now click on search for listings in this area, and it's going to bring up a bunch of properties that are listed for sale in this area. Okay, and you can see anywhere from $535,000 down to about $300,000. And now we have information that's more drilled down into about this area here. And here you see the map area that we highlighted. And let's just drill into one of those houses. Let's just click on this house here by random. We're going to get a property detail view, and we can do a couple of things here. The first thing we can do is we can access the summary information about the property, homeowner facts, home facts, construction, square footage, etc. And it actually compares the public record information with what's in the listing. You can create your own notes if you want to make notes. You can see the home price development and the estimated development for this house, as well as for the zip code and the county and for the state. And so there's a lot of information here on the summary report, the schools that are nearby. And again, they're clickable links that takes you to more information about this. When we go up here on the history tab, we can see all of the different activity about this house that took place. And here is the yellow dot, which is listing activity. So it was just listed, but it hasn't been listed in the couple of years before then. There also was no new financing activity here. There is an assessor value that was determined by the county's property assessor, but that was pretty much it. And down here we can see prior sales transactions. So the last one was in December of 2000. And we can see mortgage records. There was a mortgage recorded in 2011. So, and then there are additional charts, refined value. Now, a couple of things I want to look at with you that I find to be very helpful is, first of all, an investor summary report, which I find to be quite amazing. And so you have a number of links here on the main summary page. You can change the estimate value. You can create a comp analysis for this property. We'll do that in a minute. And you can also do a property analysis for investors, which is very, very helpful. And then you have access to RPR training, video seminars, and so forth. And again, this is your benefit as a realtor. Your dues are paying for this. So this is not some website where they're going to try and upsell you on some service. This is something that you own as a realtor. Your dues are paying for this. It's provided to you by the National Association of Realtors. So let's take a look here at property analysis for investors. And it's going to take us to another page. And basically what it does, it builds three different models: a aggressive, a base case, a moderate, and a conservative model. And it takes into account, the offering price. Let's just assume that you're paying full asking price, estimated closing cost, rehab cost, property appreciation, loan, let's say 20% down payment. This will be the loan amount. This is the interest rate. And then the estimated monthly rent on this property based on the averages in the area, and the annual taxes, vacancy rate, and so forth. So just looking at these variables that we have right here, and you can add and remove variables, so you can make changes to this, obviously. You get three different graphs down here. One is your equity in the property under both the very moderate, the aggressive, moderate, and conservative model. So you can see here over time as the equity in the property develops. So you start out initially with $82,000 in equity, which is basically the down payment, and then it obviously goes up. So over 10 years, you would have $200,000 in equity based on a 2% property price appreciation. The pre-tax monthly cash flow is negative. So here you can see you're looking at roughly $1,000 a month in negative cash flow. So between taxes and vacancy rate and your mortgage payment versus what you get on rent, you're going to have negative cash flow here. And then here's your pre-tax annual cash on cash return. Okay, so you're losing money, obviously, on a cash on cash basis. So let's say, for example, on the aggressive case, and you can play around on these numbers here. And as you can see, right now the charts are all the same because the numbers are all the same. So this is for you to make adjustments and then load values from the scenarios. So let's say, for example, I'm going to go here and say, well, I'm going to put down 50%. So I'm going to put down $205,000. Hit enter, and I'm only going to finance $205,000. So obviously, I'm going to have a lot more equity initially. My pre-tax monthly cash flow is almost covering it, still slightly negative. And my cash on cash return, obviously, is still negative, but much less. So let's say, what if I paid cash for this property? Would this property be a good investment property if I paid cash for it? And so if I paid cash for it, I would have about $1,600 a month in cash. Sorry, $1,064 a month in cash. And my cash on cash return would be 3.08%. So really, it's not a good investment. to buy this house as a rental property. So the numbers just don't add up. And so you can use this tool to run scenarios, and then you can create additional reports here at the bottom by clicking on this link here. So you can run different scenarios on properties, whether or not something is a good investment. I'm going to show you a good investment in a few minutes, so you have contrast to a bad investment. And this clearly would be a bad investment. Now, up here, this was the purchase type to rent. Now, let's say you were to rent, obviously negative cash flow. Let's say if you wanted to resell it, okay? So you can have parameters in here. Let's say you hold it for 10 months. How much is it going to go up in value? Yada, yada, yada. So you can punch in the numbers and see if it is a good investment for a flipper. And as a live-in, if somebody's going to buy it to live in, how much is it going to cost them to live in the house for 10 years? Okay. So for instance, if you look here at a 10-year time frame, 10-year holding period to live in, it's only going to appreciate 2% a year, but you're paying 6.25% interest, plus you're paying taxes. So you're obviously losing money. And so over a 10-year period, it's going to cost you $142,000 or $14,000 a year to live in this house. And that is taking appreciation and everything else into account. And so you can also use it to do a side-by-side comparison. Does it make sense to rent, or does it make sense to buy it and live in the property? And what is it going to look like over a 5, 10, 15-year time frame? Because it could very well be that it might make more sense to rent, especially if the time frame is shorter, than to buy. Of course, as realtors, unless you're in the rental business, you want to make a case for a purchase, but you also want to obviously find something that is a smart decision. Now in here, I would want to make some adjustments. Obviously, let's say I might want to put this to a 3.5% appreciation. And let's say the interest rate is buying it for primary residence. It's going to be, let's say 3.5% interest rate. And so obviously the numbers look very, very different. So here now you're looking at a cost of $53,000 over 10 years, which is $5,000 a year, less than $5,300 a year, which is, you can't rent a house like that for that amount. So obviously it's a smart decision to go ahead and buy this as opposed to rent it, because if you want to rent it, you pay $1,700, $1,800 a month, or you're going to buy it and it's going to cost you $400 a month over a 10-year period. And you could do a lot better if values go up by more than 3.5%. So this is the investment analysis tool that is part of this program. And again, you get to it by clicking here on property analysis for investors, and you have 3 different kind of analysis. You have a rental analysis, a flip analysis for resale, and a buy and hold, live in it type of analysis. How much is it going to cost you? Now, let's say you were going on a listing appointment and this was a property you're going to list for sale. You can create a very, very quick comparative analysis, a CMA for this property. So we're going to click on here to create the report. And there are 2 types of reports. You can have a sales comparison analysis, which is really more for appraisers, or if you wanted to do a BPO, because you're looking at actual sales, or you're doing a comparative analysis based on comps. The first step is you're going to confirm the facts. So it's going to show you what is on the public record versus listing data. And you want to make sure that all this information is correct. Let's just assume it's correct. We're going to go ahead and confirm it. Then it's going to say find comps. And there's some basic search criteria. Let's say I'm looking for 3 to 4 bedrooms and last 6 months. Let me hit search and just see what I find. So I got quite a few comps that I can pick from. So, I want to list this house in the $400,000 range. So let me see, I got a comp here. comp here. So these are the 3 highest comps, and I can add them here. Then it takes me to update valuation, and I can adjust the comps. So obviously here's where you would make adjustments based on age, based on size, based on you know, whether it has a pool or not, or lakefront, and you can resort them, you know, which one you're going to show first, second, third, and you can put some notes in here, and then when you're done, click update valuation, and so this is what the analysis is. You can review it, you can make changes, and then if you like it, you can just hit print report. And now here it's going to give you a bunch of different reports that you can pick from. You can see a sample here, what it looks like. And then you can personalize it here. You can put the seller's name in there and some more information. Delivery method, whether you can just download it as a PDF or you can email it to them. And then you hit get report. And when you hit get report, it's going to take a few minutes. Usually takes a couple of minutes for the report to load. And it'll actually give you a little bing noise once the report is done. So here under reports right now, we have 2 reports. This one I did previously, and this one is being generated. So we'll just see how long it takes for this to come together. And in the meantime, let me go back to the main search area and click on the saved icon. Now, any properties that you're looking at, you see that little star, you can save it by just clicking on the star. And I saved a property that is a very good investment that was actually purchased by a client of ours recently. And this was an REO, needed a bunch of work. Purchase price was $40,000. So let's take a look at those numbers and how they add up. Whether this would be a good investment, okay? So now the price was 40, and let's say rehab cost 20,000, and let's say a 3%, 3.5% appreciation. The initial appreciation will be more, obviously. Let's say 100% down payment. There's no financing, and the monthly rent, let's say we only get $1,300, a little bit more conservative. And let's say rent growth is going to be 3%, which is reasonable in this area here. And let's say a 10% vacancy rate. So based on this, and I'm just going to have this one scenario, I could obviously build 3 scenarios to compare, but let's take a look here. So here is the initial cost, and it's looking at the equity in the property. And this does not even take into account the cost of rehab. So really, the equity initially is going to be higher, but let's just leave it at where it is. What I'm concerned about is the cash flow. And pre-tax cash flow here is about $1,079, almost $1,100 a month. That's with the 10% vacancy reserve and with the taxes. Oops, insurance, let's put in here insurance. And on average, I would say about $400 a year in insurance without windstorm. Most investors don't get windstorm for these type of properties. And so you still a little over $1,050 net. And then down here, we have the annual cash on cash return. And let's just go ahead and kill those 2 other ones. So you got a 21% cash on cash return. So if you're working with an investor that is looking for these type of properties, bingo. And let's say if the property was more expensive, let's say you bought something that was turnkey, there was no fixing up required. Let's say it was $80,000 turnkey. So the guy that bought it for 60 flips it for 80. Well, let's take a look at the numbers here. You're still having the same monthly cash flow, obviously, and your turn is now lower, but you're still having a 15.5% cash on cash return, which goes up over time. So this would be an excellent investment for your client. This would be whether you buy it yourself and fix it up, or whether you buy it and it's already fixed up, or let's say if you're flipping it. Let's say you're the reseller here, and the offering price is $40,000, and the bing that you just heard was the report is ready. Let's say the rehab cost is $20,000. We're going to hold it up here. Okay. Honestly, I haven't played with this resale scenario yet, so I don't know how to put in the resale amount of 80,000. But obviously, if you bought it for 40 and put 20 in at 60 and you sell it for 80, that's a significant return. So we don't want to be renting it out. So really, again, on the rental side is where you have the best analysis for your investment properties. So again, here we have the reports now. Let's just take a look at what the report looks like real quick. And the report has failed. We have to rerun it. But let's take a look at the other report that we just did. And you can see that, this would have your broker's information, by the way. And then here you have the seller's report, your analysis, some home facts, property photos. So you really have a ton of information in this report. And you remember when we built the report, there are check boxes where you can actually remove pages or add other pages in there and put other summaries in there. But it's a very, very extensive report. And the entire thing, because I selected everything, it's like 67 pages. So obviously, when you generate the report, you can decide to make it a lot leaner. So anyhow, that would be it for our Realtor Property Resource. And if you have any questions, feel free to post a Q&A and I'll be happy to address it, or I will answer any comments that you post under the video. Again, if you're working with investors, or if you're working with sellers where you need to do a market analysis, this is really an amazing tool that you can use to very quickly generate nice reports and export those reports, print those reports, email those reports that would take you a lot of work to try and pull together yourself. Also, on the listing side, you do have a tremendous amount of information from public records that's being pulled together that would, again, take you a lot of time to do manually, even from MFR, Matrix MLS, because you have to log into all these different applications and it's not being brought together into one place. So Realtor Property Resource really pulls things together into one place from a myriad of different public records and databases. Again, it's not a tool to use necessarily for your buyer, because you're very limited in terms of search criteria. You can search directly for the property address if you have it. You can search obviously by neighborhood, by drawing lines on the map, or you can search by just some basic criteria like square footage, age, and how many bedrooms and so forth. But when you look at the Matrix MLS system or at your IDX solution, hopefully if you have a good one, you'll be able to use dozens of different kind of criterias that just aren't available here. But when you know that you're going in listing appointment for a property, this is an awesome tool to pull together a lot of intelligence for yourself to know really what the background of the property is, but also to really put together an amazing comprehensive report. And if your seller is someone that really wants to have every little bit of detail, then by all means, send them a 100-page CMA report that has every little bit of detailed analysis and additional information behind it, so you can really shine. Again, this is a relatively new tool. Not a lot of agents know about it. If you're already using it, awesome. If you're using it and it's not branded for your broker, then talk to your broker and make sure that they get the broker toolkit and that they customize it. Again, it does take NAR a couple of months to get that done. We're waiting ourselves on it. Basically, you provide all the information, and you just wait until they put it together. So unfortunately, they don't have the ability to just upload logos and things like that. But you definitely want to bring in that customization. And if you have never used it, I highly encourage you to register, log in, set up your account, and just spend an hour on it and really look at all the information that's available and compare it with what you have right now through Matrix and whether or not this is not better. I used to use, my wife and I, we buy investment properties. I used to use Matrix MLS, and I used to use the RVM, real value, and all that stuff, the links at the top to drill down more, but it's such a pain in the neck. And having this tool where it brings everything together in one place is just absolutely amazing, especially the analysis and the market analysis report and the investor analysis report. So anyhow, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you got a little bit of value out of this. It's a little bit shorter session today, but I really thought that you should know about this, and I had a lot of agents ask me about it, so I thought, let me put together a training video and make it available to the agents out there. So thanks so much again, and have an awesome day and an awesome week. This is Thomas Hyman with Realty Partners, the agent-owned company, and I look forward to our next session. Bye-bye.